Alright, so today we'll talk about the last two laws of exponents. 1.4 is the power of a product and the power of a quotient, and 1.5 we'll be talking about zero and negative exponents. So what happens if our base is multiplying? So that means 4 times 5 to the power of 3. So naturally, we multiply the base by itself 3 times, right? And I'm going to gather up all the 4s. I'm going to gather up all the 5s. So I end up with 4 cubed times 5 cubed. So you multiply them together, that's 8,000. So in other words, we know that 4 times 5 to the power of 3 means 4 cubed times 5 cubed. In other words, if you have the same exponents, you have different bases, and you're multiplying, you can just do this. The bases multiplied by each other to the power of their exponent. So let's look at another example here. Again, 6 cubed times 7 cubed. They have the same exponent but different bases. So what you're going to do is use the power of a product property, which is what I just showed you. So that means multiply the bases and raise that to the power of 3. Easy. Okay, so what happens if we were dividing? So again, in this case, they have the same exponents. And it happens to be 3 again. I did not mean that to happen. But what you're going to do is you're going to gather up the bases. But this one, they're dividing. And that's okay. You can still do that with them. And then raise it to the power of 3. Their common exponent. Okay? This makes things a lot easier because instead of expanding this 3 times, and then dividing by expanding this 3 times, we're just going to divide the bases here. So negative 9 divided by negative 3, that is 3 to the power of 3. That's 9 times 3, 27. Look at how easy things are. So again, the point of knowing all of these rules is that you can make things easier for you to calculate. Alright. So last example for 1.4, try to simplify this expression here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to simplify that by power of a power property, which says that you can multiply the exponents together. That's 9 to the power of 8. I'm going to copy everything else. Okay, alright. And then I notice that the numerator, they're multiplying and they have the same exponent. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to gather them up together and they share the common exponent. I still have that 3 to the power of 8 there. Okay. So 9 times 2 is 18 to the power of 8, which is fabulous because of this. So we have the 3 to the power of 8 on the bottom, the denominator. So we still can use the power of a quotient property. And here we used the power of a product property. So again, for this one, since we know that they have the same exponent, different bases, but they're dividing, you can gather up the bases. 18 divided by 3, that's 6. So 6 to the power of 8. That's your answer. Again, you can calculate that with your calculator, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to talk to you guys about zero and negative exponents. So some of you guys are thinking, so what does a zero exponent mean? Some of you might guess it's a zero or it's an undefined. We'll see. So let me tell you guys what a zero exponent means. If you were to divide 7 to the power 5 divided by 7 to the power 5, we all know that if you divide something by itself, it becomes 1, right? But if you already know some laws of exponents, here you have the same base and the same exponent. So you could do two things. Gather up the bases, raise it to the same power, or you could also do 7, keep the base, and you subtract the exponents. Okay, so we know 7 over 7 is 1, to the power of 5 is 1, right? So here, 7 to the power of 5 minus 5 is 7 to the power of 0. So that means anything to the power of 0 is 1. Because of this. Because you, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you were to cross them out, you'll be left by 1. So this is 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. So that's it. So zero exponent means 1. So let's try that out. So what does it mean if I say 8 to the power of 4 divided by 8 to the power of 0 times 8 to the power of 3? You could do this. 8 to the power of 4 minus 0. So I'm using the quotient rule of exponent. So keep the base and subtract the exponents. And then we're going to multiply by a cubed. So a to the power of 4 minus 0 is a to the power of 4. So this is the same thing as dividing by 1, right? We end up with a to the power of 4 times a to the power of 3. Keep the base, add the exponent, a to the power of 7.